Welcome everybody to a presentation about the LOT Story Network with CrowdRiff. We are super excited to have this new technology as we can start rolling everybody into it. We are going to be the first state in the US to be using the CrowdRiff Story Network, so we're very excited about that. This was a tool we thought would be very useful for recovery. We all know how user-generated content plays an important role in showing people what's open, what's now it's survived from hurricane or recovered from hurricane damage. So we were very hopeful that this would be something that could help all of our partners by buying into this platform. On LOT's behalf, all of our CDBs have access to it completely for free. So this is going to be great for everyone. We're hopeful that everybody's going to get on board with using it. There are some really cool aspects of this that we're going to walk through today, along with how to use it and some tips for story making. So I'm not going to take up too much time, just some quick housekeeping. You should come in on mute. We're just trying to make sure that we are able to kind of get through the whole thing and not take up too much time. We need to put questions in chat, or if you would like to post it at the end. There's not terribly many of us, so we could probably pop off mute at the end and do that as well. I just ask that we wait until the end, and then we can revisit any of those. We are recording this, and we will post it in the portal after it's over. So if you want to share it with anybody, for anybody on your team or anything like that, feel free afterward. They can give it a watch and learn a little bit more about it. And I think that's it. I'm going to kick it over to Elaine with CrowdRiff, who's going to walk you through all the benefits of the platform and a little bit about how to use it.
Perfect. Thanks so much. That was a great introduction. Great job. Okay, so I'm really excited to be here too. Usually, actually, as you can see, I'm all alone on the Story Network side. And then we kind of have an army of others that also help you. So I'm actually covering for Lexi, who is lovely and probably a lot better at running these training calls than me. So if you decide to attend any other trainings, you'll see her. If you use the CrowdRiff platform, then you probably know Sandra or Emily. If you guys, if it's possible, could you put it in the chat if you are using CrowdRiff platform already, just so I have a baseline? Kind of if you know what CrowdRiff is or not. No chats, which means you're all brand new. Can I also kind of get a baseline indication of, if you've seen kind of, what a gallery looks like, and you kind of already know what Story Network is? No. Perfect. That's good. I was actually hoping that was the case. So what I actually want to do today is I want to spend the majority of the time speaking about what's in it for you, how specific partners can benefit from Story Network. The product itself is pretty easy to use. And I should say that I've been reaching out individually to different destinations just to make sure that they know kind of best practices around creating AMP stories and around indexing and Google crawling. So if you are interested after this training on some one-on-one sessions with me, then let me know. And we can kind of get really deep into the product. But for today, the majority of the time I'll spend just kind of saying what Story Network is, showing you some examples, and then jumping into the actual product. So obviously, Story Network right now, the network owner is LOT, and we'll kind of get into why that's very good and important in a second. And right now, these are our list of partners, and we would love for all of you here to be in this list as well. Natchitoches and North Shore and Tammany Parish, I've kind of bolded in the CrowdRiff blue because they're really active in the network, and they've posted a lot of stories. So I just wanted to shout them out because they've been doing great. And then everyone else, I've just been supporting, and they're getting their stories in there. So why Story Network? Let's start with that. What does it actually look like? What are the benefits to you? Before we talk about the good stuff, let's talk about the bad stuff first. So optimistic here. So the challenges that, that destination, specifically in Louisiana, face, apart from, the hurricanes and the pandemic, let's not talk about those today. But marketers obviously facing challenges. You have to create an incredible amount of content. That content has to be engaging, and it has to be kind of competing with all the content that's out there for other destinations. It needs to be formatted in different channels, and different destinations have different resources at their disposal. Some have a videographer, some have an editor, so they can kind of edit their content into different formats, but some don't. So what are you supposed to do in that case? How are you going to make content for Instagram, for your blogs, for Snapchat, for TikTok, maybe for how are you going to do all that with a small team? The content that you are creating ideally should be personalized to each stage of the traveler journey, and that's really hard to do. You also, through analytics and through kind of direct booking, you have to figure out when potential travelers are ready to book, and how you're going to measure kind of their intent. And then on top of that, travelers themselves are definitely craving authentic and personalized experiences, especially if your target traveler is a regional traveler or a local traveler. They're not necessarily going to be as enticed to, let's say, I don't know, like a super tourist destination, because they've probably already seen it, right? They want these local experiences that everyone on this call is an expert on, right? So CrowdRiff, just to give you some context, our original platform and some of our, the partner destinations are currently using, uses UGC and pictures or photos, visual content, and that's really good. But we were thinking of, okay, our current clients, they're still having these issues even with CrowdRiff. So when we were thinking of a solution, we kind of took a step back and we said, okay, let's forget about travelers. Let's just look at content consumers. What are they seeking right now? What do they want? And you see this incredible kind of growth trajectory of the story format from 2017 to 2019. Story consumption grew 35x. Facebook said that they've never seen this kind of change in consumption before in history. So we knew that we definitely wanted stories because they're visual, they're immersive, they're obviously personalized, and they're authentic. So we came up, with Story Network, which does all of those things. So basically what Story Network is conceptually, is, LOT sells the feeling, the vibe of coming into Louisiana. Then they take a step back and you close the deal. You go in there and you kind of showcase your local experiences, and your expertise, for lack of a better word, and your content is front and center with Story Network. That's the concept, but actually in practice, what does this look like? I'm going to jump out of this presentation and I'll show you kind of how this works from a traveler perspective. So if I get out here, here is the familiar LOT website. You have this wonderful banner that is very immersive, very nice. You kind of scroll down, Louisiana State Parks, virtual road trips, how to speak Cajun. And then as you keep scrolling down, here, are your voices. Here are your specific stories that are fully immersive and personalized for the potential traveler. So if I click, let's say, a day in Natchitoches, I can see that, this entire, the entire page is taken up. If I'm on mobile, again, we're finding that more and more travelers are planning their trips on their phones. It's not really on, web anymore. And also the CTAs are actually, they're all through the phone as well. So, you have this immersive experience. You can book directly from the story. And we've found that, what's the exact percentage? I think it was something like 63% of the CTA clicks came from mobile devices. And you can book directly here. And it'll take you directly to Cane River Brewing Company. Now, if I go back to kind of this immersive experience and I click the next story, or I let that story finish, another story based on the interaction I have with this specific story is going to be unearthed to me. So as a traveler, I have a sense of discovery, and it doesn't necessarily take me to, the big tourist spots. However, it could, depending on what I'm clicking, depending on what I'm looking for. So it's a special algorithm that basically, oops, I just realized that I'm gonna get rid of that. Basically, depending on how I interact with the different stories are going to be prompted to me. So that's kind of how I was talking conceptually about how story network works, but this is not conceptual, this is actually in action. So going back to my little presentation, present. So I just talked about kind of LOT, kind of amplifying your stories and your voice. There's another benefit that doesn't have anything to do with LOT, and that's all of these stories are crawled and indexed by Google. Google has invested obviously a lot of money into this new format, and now basically you can see someone searched for Italian, just Italian on Google, and the first visual story that came up are two story network stories, and you can see that it got 34,000 impressions and 1K clicks, and that's like very good. So even if a potential traveler didn't enter through LOT, they still have an avenue to access your content directly from Google. And here's a little video of that interaction. As you can see, someone searched Italian. Here's the first restaurant on the left and the second restaurant on the right. And this was just a few days ago. It's lunchtime. I'm hungry, actually. Not that I'm looking at this. Anyways, so I feel like a professor that, like, every time a professor tries to show a video in class, I remember there was always issues. There we go. Move here. Okay, so breaking it down further into like, why does it actually matter for partner destinations? You get more website visitors, either through kind of the network syndication. So in other words, through the LOT website, because we know that, it does get a lot of visitors. And again, your content is in that gallery, and you can have multiple galleries on multiple pages, and your content is front and center. Because of this kind of engaging new format that people like to interact with, you have lower bounce and increased time on site. For every story, obviously the format is consistent. So the planning experience for the traveler is also consistent. The partner's content is surfaced equally. So like Lake Charles is not going to be shown more than North Shore, unless Lake Charles creates more stories. Obviously, if there's more stories from your destination in the pool, then there's a higher likelihood of them being shown. You also have a simplified funnel because you have a direct path to purchase. You watch a story, you swipe up, you book. And at the very worst case scenario, if they're not booking, at least the potential travelers are getting inspiration on what a potential journey through Louisiana looks like. And then lastly, of course, you have a very popular and engaging format for the potential traveler as well. So that was kind of my spiel. Does anybody actually have, actually, I guess we can save it after, after the presentation, but yeah, let me know if that wasn't too clear. Again, you really have, on the CrowdRiff side, an army of people that want to see you successful. We want you bought in. We want you to be creating content. So yeah, just know that if you ever feel like you need support on ideas on how to create stories, what kind of stories, we're here for you. So let's briefly go over the anatomy of a story. I'm sure that all of you have seen what a story looks like before. So I won't go into, all of these. It kind of seems not like the best use of your time. But I do just want to stress that, again, with visual stories, you have a direct path to purchase for the traveler. So if beds and heads is something that you want, if group bookings is something that you want to promote, stories is a great format to do it in. And here's some more story examples. Again, we'll share this deck with you. These are all live links to really good stories and stories that exhibit a lot of the best practices that we've seen. So let's actually jump in and ditch this PowerPoint, and I'll show you how to create a story and just how easy it can be. So the link that you would go to is storynetwork.crowdriff.com. So again, none of you are using Platform, so that's actually good. So all you need to do is just bookmark this link. We'll exit from here and go to that link here. So right now I'm logged in obviously as LOT. So LOT is able to see every single story, and they're also able to create different galleries. We'll get into that in just a second. When you log in, you won't be able to see anything because you won't actually have stories. As you begin to create the stories, you'll only see your stories, but LOT will be able to see everyone's. So to create a story, no surprise, you're going to create the blue, you're going to click the Create Story button. Before I click it, I just want you to note that there's also, right now we're in the Stories tab. So this is where all your stories are going to populate, obviously. This Galleries tab is going to allow you to create that gallery that I just showed you. Sorry for jumping back and forth. It's going to allow you to see this. You'll be able to create that on your own web page if you wanted to. And you can basically restrict it so that, you know, only content from your destination is shown, or only content, you know, that has to do with like mountain biking is shown, or fishing. So you can create specific content that is tailored to kind of the needs of your website. So an obvious example is Christmas is coming up, or Thanksgiving. So you can create, you know, Thanksgiving in whatever destination you belong to. Then you can remove that gallery whenever. We're not going to cover galleries today, but again, I'm going to be reaching out individually to all of you if you want me to, and we can cover that possibly then. For today, I just want to go through just creating a story. So I'm going to click Create Story. It's going to open up a new tab, and it's going to bring me to the story creator. So it's, again, very, very easy to use this. You just have to go through these four steps. You can either drop the files directly from your computer, or you can use this QR code and just drop it from your phone. So that's what I'm going to do, because I actually don't have anything on my computer. Okay. So it's just telling me to open up a Safari. So I'm going to choose the visuals from my phone that I want to plunk in here, and then we'll be ready to go. So some best practices that we'll cover kind of like in our one-on-one sessions is when to use videos, what kind of photos to use. Best practice is to use as much videos as you possibly can. If you don't have access to videos, that's fine. But videos are obviously more engaging than, you know, than photos. So if I were you and I were using Story Network, I would aim to have 1 to 2 per story. Perfect. So that's that. My uploads are done on my phone. So I'm going to go ahead and click my uploads are done. And here is all the content that I have saved up. So I went on a beautiful walk to High Park, and don't worry, I know that this has nothing to do with Louisiana. I'll delete it later. But basically right now we're in the edit, the edit tab. So these are, you know, the first things that I'm going to have to fill out. So obviously a title. So right now this page here is my title page, but I can kind of reorder these around. For example, I kind of like the look of this one. There's also a cute little chipmunk that I uploaded, but I think I want this video to be my title page. So obviously your title page is the first thing that people are going to see in the gallery. If people don't click into kind of this first panel, it's the only thing that people are going to see from your destination. So make sure that it's relatively good quality, that the title is obviously compelling. Google crawls the title. The best way to kind of make sure that your story is surfaced at the top of a Google search is putting the location in the title. So this is specifically High Park. So I'm going to say beautiful hike, in High Park. And as you can see, it kind of changes here. It changes live as I make these changes. I can kind of rearrange where this text box is going to be. So I want it to be at the bottom, kind of bottom right. I can, of course, change the color. So I think I'm going to make the, yeah, I like this. Looks good. And I can also change the font color as well. I don't like this at all. I like this better. So I can credit myself for the video. I'm not going to do that right now. As you can see, I can add a location to this. So I'm going to add High Park as my location. There we go, Hyde Park, Bloor Street West. I can link directly to, there's a little cafe in Hyde Park, so I can actually add a support link directly here. And again, this text or more details link, all of these things are crawled and indexed by Google. So the more kind of specific and the more, I guess, Googleable, words that you put in here, as long as, of course, they have to make sense and they have to be, they have to relate to what you're uploading, because you might get in trouble if you just put in random words in here. Then, you have a higher chance of your content being surfaced again directly on Google search. So, nice long fall walk through Hyde Park. And again, if let's say the story specifically was about a specific cafe that I'm visiting, then I would add a buy or support link. So I'm finished kind of with my title page. So I'm just going to click and move on to the next panels of my possible story. So for example, here is my standoff. So I'm going to say standoff with a chipmunk. Again, I'm going to, if this was a different location, then I would add a different location. So let's say if you want to create a story on, the yummiest restaurants at your destination, or the best, the best places to see the lights in your destination, the Christmas lights. You could have a different location for each panel, and you can kind of group things together in your story. We recommend anywhere between 4 to 7 or 4 to 10 panels per story. So again, I'm going to kind of go through each one of these. I can add an emoji here, the chipmunk. Great. And I'm just going to, again, work through all of my wonderful content. Now, this is a good place to use all of the B-roll content that maybe didn't make the cut in your, I guess in maybe your longer format marketing collateral, but here it's really, really easy to trim videos and to crop them directly. So for example, I don't want this to be 11 seconds. I just want it to be 6 seconds. Here we go, apply, and that's it. My video is cropped. So it's really, really, really easy. And I can upload this multiple times and have kind of different snippets for each panel. And same thing with, let's say, if you have a lot of pictures that are not in portrait mode. I took all of my pictures in portrait mode, but if I didn't, then I can just click crop on a picture and then just move it around and kind of focus on the different areas of a specific picture that I wanted to. So again, it makes it really simple. You don't need a videographer. You don't need, another software to kind of crop and change around the format of your videos. Just upload it directly into Story Network and you're ready to go. So that was kind of the edit section. Next is the tag section. So the gallery that I showed you, this is what determines which gallery your content or your story is going to be in. So for example, if I'm Teresa and I want to create a gallery on, let's say, culinary things like food, I'm going to pick my seasons. Winter's coming up, so I'm going to say, okay, it's a winter dinner themed gallery. I'm going to, sorry, I just talked about galleries, but basically the point that I'm trying to make is the galleries are completely based on the tags here. So for example, my specific story is going to have to do with fall. The tags I'm going to do is, activities, adventure and outdoors. I'm going to search for, what terms possibly are in kind of these different tags. I think that's it for now. But as you can see, there are here, nature is definitely applicable here, but I'm going to look through basically everything that's available and tag as needed. We also have some personas. Again, these are what is going to determine which stories are going to be in which gallery. So I'm going to put in outdoor adventure and road tripper. And then again, we don't have any campaigns now, but you can see that this tag would be really useful for, let's say, once we finally have a vaccine, we can have a campaign that is specific to, let's say, just the recovery plan or reopening. And you can just go in, create your story, and just tag it in that campaign. But we don't really have anything right now. And the last step is just to give your story a title. And if, let's say, it is a seasonal, like a Christmas story, then you can choose the expiry date of that one. So fall, I would say, would probably be over by the 15th of December. So I'm going to go ahead and make this expire on the 15th of December. And I'm going to call this perfect. And then the last step is either to preview or to publish. Publishing means that it is available if there are any galleries that are searching for the content that this item is tagged to. It means that this story is going to appear in those galleries. So if you're unsure, you're not quite ready, you want to kind of perfect the story, you can just leave it, kind of leave it here. And then if you go back to your page here, you'll see that there's going to be a draft waiting for you. So let me refresh. And then you can return to that story and finish at any point. So it should come up here. So it's, oh, here it is, it's right here. So here is my drafted story. I'm not gonna launch it, I'm gonna delete it after this training. But yeah, you can see that took approximately 5 minutes to go through. The most important thing, or the most important thing obviously, is to keep in mind best practices, which I can share with you if you'd like to meet individually. But the hardest thing is just thinking of the different stories that you want to create, and having an idea of what galleries are kind of searching for those specific stories. So I spoke to Teresa yesterday, and she mentioned that if you want to kind of prioritize the kind of stories that you do make, there are 5 pillars that we can recommend that you start with. The first one is obviously Christmas, because Christmas is coming up. Anything that has to do with outdoors, for obvious reasons. Culinary, like a culinary story, anything to do with road trips. And if you're really stumped on all of those, just, unexpected reasons for people to come to your destination, really reasons that, that you would know because you are, the experts here on your destination. So that's really all I wanted to go through. I'll quickly return to my, my presentation here to wrap up. But again, we're really excited for you to start this. You really have an opportunity to be thought leaders here. In terms of kind of perks specifically for partners, beyond just kind of like the performance perks of getting better views and kind of getting your content surfaced to on the LOT website. We're coming up with a way for you to interact with other top partners at other networks internationally. So you can kind of share your ideas and share kind of your best practices and best performing stories. And on top of that, once you create 10 stories, you basically get a really robust set of analytics to understand, okay, which stories are performing best, which story has the most click, how many impressions am I getting? Is this actually working? But you do need 10 stories for that. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to cover today.
Elaine, it's Teresa, y'all. So to the point of 10 stories, that is also the minimum number of stories that the CVB will need to create in order to have access to the gallery creator to embed stories on their own website, correct?
Yes, that's right. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. Thanks for catching that. Yes, so 10 stories should definitely be the North Star for you to really to use CrowdRiff on your website, and also just to benefit from the analytics that we can provide to you.
Elaine, what happens to the stories at the end of the season, say fall, winter, spring, or summer that you collect? And when that comes to an end, what happens?
So if you set an expiry date, then they're just not going to appear on the galleries anymore. What you can also do, and what a lot of network owners do, or people with galleries, is they just change the settings of their galleries. So once winter is over, you go in and you say, okay, in this gallery, don't give me any more winter stories, only give me spring stories. So you kind of have 2 options. On the story level, you can just make it expire. On the gallery level, you can just change the tags.
Can
you save those? I'm sorry, go ahead.
can you set it so that it doesn't expire?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Pat, to answer your question, they don't disappear. You'll always have access to your stories unless you go in and delete them, which we wouldn't recommend. They'll just be in your gallery, or not your, I'm so sorry. They'll be here in your story viewer.
So I could recycle it next year at the same time if I wanted to.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and you could actually, Pat, you could go in and you could edit it at that time. Next year, you could add other content to it, right, Elaine?
Yep, that's exactly right. So at any point, if you wanted to, let's say, revisit the story, let's say I want to launch it or I want to change the tags, want to delete that chipmunk, it was very threatening, I can just go in and click edit in Story Creator, and then it'll bring me back to that view that we saw. Yeah, so, well, any more questions?
I'm sure I'll have a lot of questions after I've gotten in there and played with it, but I think probably the best way to learn is just to start doing it.
Perfect.
And you'll still have assistance throughout that whole process too. So if you have any questions or issues, you won't be on your own.
Yes.
To get access to go ahead and get your profile set up and get access, you need to let us know who on your team you want to have that access. So definitely follow up from this webinar with that information, and we'll get you all set up and turned on so you can go in, start playing with it, and start building out your stories to get to that 10 threshold where it opens up a whole new world of analytics and galleries.
Exactly.
Can more than one person have access?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Jennifer and Teresa are going to be in touch with you on if you want access to this. I'll be the one that sends you the link, and that's when I'll request some one-on-one time with you to go over kind of best practices, kind of go in deep, and hopefully we can create our first story together.
Yeah, Elena's been really great in helping us with our early flight group that has been kind of test running this for us. Which, as you can see, does include North Shore and Natchitoches. They've been churning out some stuff and working with Elaine on that. So you'll have her by your side.
So we have our main website, shreveport-bossier.org, but we also have some other websites like our Fun Guide, Boom Robust Byway. Can we use this on all of those sites?
Yes, absolutely. The way that you would do that is if you click on preview. Well, first things first, actually, I'm so sorry, I haven't eaten. So sometimes when I don't eat, I don't make sense. Yes, once you have a gallery, so once you have those 10 stories, you get an embed code and you can put that anywhere.
Okay.
Anywhere you want. But obviously we recommend it just being applicable to the different, destinations, which is very easily done in the gallery creator.
So can we embed a specific gallery? For example, a Boom Robust Byway gallery on the Boom Robust Byway website and something different on our main website?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, that's actually one of the things we see as being, I'm glad you brought up the byway. That is one of the things we see as being a really big advantage of this. When we first started talking to CrowdRiff Stories about this, we looked straight at byways, and this will be perfect for byways because you can really start to structure a trip down the byway and be able to share that in a really, really engaging way. So I'm glad you brought that one up. That was one of our first thoughts when we started thinking about adopting this technology. The only other pitch I'm going to make right now related to this, sort of, but unrelated technically, is if you have not watched the Google webinar we did a couple weeks back on utilizing Google My Business and how to keep businesses up to date with hours and information, I highly recommend that. And I also recommend sharing it to your attractions because this tool has that great opportunity to link all of these stories straight to Google information for the attraction. You're going to want that listing to be as accurate as possible. So I strongly encourage, that recording is live on the industry portal on the webinars page. I strongly encourage to send that out to the attractions that you're thinking about wanting to feature and encourage them to check out their Google My Business profile, watch the webinar, make sure that they're keeping their listing as robust and up to date as possible so that just enriches this tool more and better.
I'm going to set it better myself.
Do we have any other questions? seems like no. I'm really hopeful that we hear from each and every one of you with who you want on your team to have access. It can be definitely more than one person. My whole team is pretty much on it. So send us whatever information you have for your team that you'd like access, and we'll get you guys started. And this will be my last actual plug. Be sure to check out our list of webinars for the remainder of the year. This one pertains directly to this tool, but we have a lot of others that we're doing every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 o'clock. So go check those out, see which ones might be of interest. They're on a whole range of topics, from developing content to utilizing social media, different platforms differently. So check those out and see what ones might be of interest, and definitely come and see those. Like this one, those will all be recorded. So if there's one that's happening at a time that just does not work, come back and visit the portal, and we'll have all the links for the recorded presentations.
Sounds awesome, y'all.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. And